All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again here to Virtual Racing Network. We have the Racecore Truck Series presented by Leo's Coney Island here tonight. And a little bit lower car count this season is actually coming to an end, so not surprising there. But I expect to see a good race nevertheless. Before we get into all of the racing details and the point standings coming in to tonight's race, we of course want to thank all of the sponsors for coming on board. Starting of course with our general sponsors here for the race, Global Building Contractors and iRacing Drivers World, and your presenting sponsor here for tonight's race and this series as it comes to an end next week. That is Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills. Definitely make sure you check them out and go in there, get you some great food out of Rochester Hills, and definitely thank them for coming on board here for this season. On the broadcast side of things, we have a few partners that we have to mention as well, starting with Walls Beard Co. Beard Balm, all natural and organic products. Make sure if you have a beard, gentlemen, you need to go over there and check them out. Again, that is wallsbeardco.com, and different scents to pick from as well, so make sure you head on over there. SimSpeedShop.com, your one-stop shop for custom-made button boxes and e-brakes. So make sure if you're an iRacer, you check out these great products. You can pick up one or both of them. If you're a rallycross racer, you're definitely going to want one of those e-brakes. And the button boxes, well, they can just be mapped to just about anything on iRacing, and they do come in very handy. Northwest Racing Series, the official one-to-go sponsor here for tonight's race, and we also cover their series on Monday night and Wednesday night now, and that time is 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 Central time, so make sure you stay tuned for those races coming up tomorrow night as well. Ohio IndyCar League, if you're looking to get into some IndyCar racing, there's no better place to do so than Ohio IndyCar League. To get all the latest information, you can check them out at facebook.com/Ohio IndyCar League. iBog, iRacing Broadcast Overlay Graphics, your sim race broadcast graphic source. If you're looking to get into broadcasting, need to tweak your overlays, or just need some overlays for streaming iRacing and need to pull some information from it, you can do so. Just get a hold of Jason Allison at ibog.co. And, of course, we'll talk to somebody here tonight for our pre-race interview. That pre-race interview is presented by Randy's Wraps. If you have a iRacing account, there are a few ways you can stand out. One of them is being fast, but the flashy one of that is a really nice paint job, and you can do so by heading over to Facebook and looking up Randy's Wraps to get a hold of Randy Posts today. That being said, I don't even know if we're going to mention his name to introduce him, as he needs no introduction. He is back once again here for one of the last two races. That is Jeff. Let's just call him Jeff Stadnos. He's got too many nicknames to go around. So, Jeff, welcome to the booth again.
Hey, Charles, that's quite the introduction there. Always glad to be here. I love doing these Racecore races, man. We've been with these guys for seems like all year, just doing one league after another. So really enjoy these guys. They always put on a heck of a show. And tonight we're at Phoenix, which there's just something about Phoenix ISM. Really like this track. It's a tough track. It doesn't look overly complicated. It's not hard to get around, but it is hard to be fast. So I think we're in for a good race tonight.
Yeah, we definitely are in for a great race. I expect to see some good racing. Again, the car count a little bit lower here for tonight's race, but we are in the closing races here. This is next to last. We have this week, and then we have Homestead Miami next week, and this season is coming to an end. So very quickly, this season will be wrapping up before you know it. Next week we'll be here and we'll be crowning our champion, which for all intents and purposes we basically have already done that, as Jameer Muhammad has a huge points lead, and there's really not too much of a chance that he can lose that, if any at all.
Yeah, but these guys are racers, Charles. I mean, yes, everybody wants to win the championship, but as soon as that green flag drops, these guys aren't even thinking about championship. They're thinking about winning the race. And, as far as the car count, man, I'll take quality over quantity any day. And we've got some quality here tonight. We've got Mikey Neal, who's just been phenomenal the second half of the season. We got Jameer Muhammad, he's been phenomenal all season. Bryson Barker too. Bryson Barker, just an amazing racer. Alex Huffman, man, has he been coming on strong. He's found a lot of speed. He's really got better at that long run. James Lorello, I thought I saw him in here earlier. Yeah, he's here. And, he's another guy that's, continually finds himself, up around that top 5, Justin Starr. So we may not have 20 guys here, but we've certainly got 10 that I want to watch.
Yeah, definitely, as, again, Brian Jones just came in a little bit late, and we may see 1 or 2 more trickle in here. Again, we saw about 15 minutes before we actually go racing here. So we got a few drivers on the track. Do you have anyone you want to talk to here tonight? We'll let you pick our pre-race interview here.
Well, that's, I think the full crew is always worth talking to. How about Alex Huffman?
Yeah, let's bring him up here and see what he has to say. And he goes down to grab him real quick, make sure he is available to talk to here. We're going to give him just a moment. I definitely look forward to talking to him. Right now, he is third fastest with a 26.345. And it looks like, we've got Justin Starr up here with us, so welcome to the booth, Justin Starr. And there is Jeff, so it looks like we have a change of plan. We're bringing Justin up here with us.
Yeah, we decided we didn't want Alex anyways. We saw Justin was available, and, he's the head honcho here, so I think he makes for a better interview.
Oh, there you have it. So, welcome to the booth here. We got just a few minutes to talk to you here. Again, we were talking about, the car kind of a little lower here, but we prefer quality over quantity. And obviously that is one thing this whole league is about, is getting quality drivers here. So we expect to see some good racing. So especially, we know last time we were here, it was not the best race. But
I think that's probably why we got a low count this time.
Hopefully, maybe they'll come in here. It looks like Bill Edwards is going to get in here, so we have one more coming in. I figure a few more will trickle in. But a big difference between that race and this race is last race had the dog leg open. This time it is closed. You can't go down there, so we won't see any 5 and 6 wide, so we should eliminate some of those cautions. So other than the cautions breeding from that, in your thoughts, what are we going to see without that dog leg here?
Probably a lot less cautions. The problem we have with the open dog leg, that was my fault, by the way. I had the open dog leg, didn't know any better. We had guys going, 4 or 5 wide in the back for last place. That was causing wrecks. We came in here with the open dog leg, so I said that will never happen again. I don't care. There'll be no open dog leg. I think you're going to see guys not cutting across, and that's where all the incidences were coming from, is guys going 4 or 5 wide. So everybody should be staying on track. I don't think we'll probably have any cautions tonight. That's what I'm guessing. No cautions. We've got a pretty small field to our normal size of a field. Of course, there's 1 race left in the series next week at Homestead. And the tire fall off is not really bad at all.
I don't see too many cautions. I know Jeff is anti-predicting cautions. He doesn't like to predict them, but I don't see too many cautions coming out of here tonight. I think if we do see any, they're probably going to be self-spins, maybe getting into the outside wall. We'll see. And speaking of self-spins and the wall, stuff like that, racing stuff, how are the tires here, and do you have an idea on the fuel strategy about how many laps these guys are going to run before they have to come in for fuel if we get a green flag pit stop?
40 to 42 laps is what you're going to get in between. I got a 43 for a full tank, and the tire fall off was barely anything.
Well, that could make it very interesting, just shy of the halfway point, so it will be a 2-stop race. But before we let you get going here, as we got about 10 minutes left, Jeff, any questions here for Justin before we let him go down there and take care of the race and get ready to go?
That was an evil smile or evil laugh there, Jeff.
Yeah, you heard that, huh?
Oh, yeah.
No, actually, I think Justin answered most of it. Phoenix, ISM here, I guess we call it nowadays, is just one of my favorite tracks. You got two just super distinct corners. You got that first corner up to the end of that long straightaway where, every urge you have is to just drive it in as deep as you can, slam the brakes, and roll that corner. You do that, you end up in the wall pushing out. And then you get into the turn 3, which is just, I believe, one of the most skill-requiring corners out here, because there's just not a whole lot of banking. It's a wide corner. You got to find that line. You got to figure how much you can turn, how fast you can go. I don't know. I really enjoy turn 3 and turn 1, just the way they're different here at Phoenix. What are your thoughts on this track, Justin?
I could take it or leave it, honestly. Yeah, I'm still, because the Global Building Contractor Series, you were here. It was like the second race of our series, and it was just, I forgot how many cautions. Way too many cautions, way too many guys just, being over aggressive and wrecking everybody and going 3 or 4 or 5 wides with that open dog leg. But I don't mind it. But like I said, I could take or leave this track. I'd rather run something more fun. I don't know. I like super speedways, short track even.
Well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree then on that one. I think they're all fun. And with this crew, you guys always put on a good show. And speaking of sponsors there, I'm sure you got some sponsors and shout-outs that you'd like to get to here.
Yep, Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills, Michigan, for helping us out with this series. Global Building Contractors, which is coming back on October 16th. That series starts up. Any of you guys who run B cars, we have a few stalls open. Feel free to come over to Racecore OnlineRacingLeague.com and throw in an app. You must be B required license or higher for that series. Also like to put a shout out to iRacing Drivers World for donating to our league group page on Facebook. All sorts of information for iRacing and leagues and stuff like that. If you're looking for anything, go join iRacing Drivers World. And also Lake Erie Entertainment for this year's Lake Erie Entertainment Summer Sprint Car Series, which is coming to an end in 2 weeks. After that, this league will not be running dirt until probably 2019 next year. So that's all I got, and a big shout out to you VRN guys, you and Charles. Good work there on your computer, Charles, after that spill you had last night. I didn't think you would be here tonight, but here you are. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, definitely was a crazy night last night. We'll talk about that a little here more in a second, but we'll let you get back down to there so you can talk to these guys and get going, and hopefully we'll be talking to you later tonight.
Hopefully, maybe I'll finally get on a podium once.
It's coming. I know it's coming one of these days for you. Hopefully, maybe tonight will be your night.
Silver was my race. Just kidding. All right.
All right. Well, there you go. That was the 99 of Justin Starr. And, for those that don't know here, if you're not on our Facebook or if you just don't look at our Facebook, we had a bit of a catastrophe last night. Jeff, you were obviously racing, didn't know about it till afterwards nearly. Right in the middle of the broadcast, we had a orange guys are shooting out of the computer, had a huge computer leak, but we are back up and running now, so minus some fitting and some coolant and a mini heart attack, we are good to go here for tonight's race. We have 100 laps here, and it's 100 miles. I actually thought this track was 1.5 miles for some reason, but it's only a mile, so we only have 100 miles here tonight.
Yeah, Phoenix is only 1 mile. And again, it's I think you're hitting speeds of around 145 miles an hour when you cross the start-finish line. You're probably hitting the brakes at about 150, 155 miles an hour getting into turn 1, slowing all the way down to, I think, probably about 60, 70 miles an hour in the middle of turn 1, back on the accelerator, and then, like I said, turn 3, just this big wide corner with no banking. Or no real banking, and then you got a shoulder there that's got just a little bit of a banking transition. So get 2 wheels down there and you're spinning out. get on that throttle too soon, you'll put it in the wall and spin out, and baby it through there, and everybody's going to drive right by you. So just a real challenging corner. It's not like there's a single line or pushes you out against the wall or anything like that. So, Phoenix or ISM now, I think it's just a super fun track.
Yeah, it definitely is a super fun track. I look forward to it here, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. We have about 4 minutes left here, so we're going to dive right into your point standings here. Again, coming to the last 2 races of the season, there's not a whole lot to go over in the point standings. As far as most of it goes, it looks like it is a pretty certain bet with Jameer Muhammad 54 points ahead of Mikey Neal, and Mikey Neal 100 about 100 and probably 15-ish ahead of Alex Huffman. I think it's a safe bet to say that it's going to be Jameer Muhammad followed by Mikey Neal in second. Third and fourth, that's Justin Starr in fourth. He has 659 to 666 for Alex Huffman. So those are the trophy positions that they get a trophy for. So those spots, that spot right there, we may have to keep a good eye between Alex Huffman and Justin Starr, as that could potentially change.
Yeah, and with Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad, I haven't heard. I don't know if you have. I don't know if it's official. Because we've got a couple drops to figure in yet, and so I don't know that lead's official. But with a low car count like this, it's just going to be way too hard to get any separation in points. You almost, if you're Mikey, if you do have a shot, you almost need like 30, 35 car fields. And you need, Jameer to finish at the back and you finish at the front, and that gets you back in it. But, with 11 cars out here tonight, if the math's not there, I think it just about will be after tonight's races, because there's just not enough points to be gained tonight. And, and then you got Alex Huffman and Justin Starr. Like you said, you got 7 points separating them, but I'm not sure where we'd sit on the bonus points, but, first place and 11th place are going to be separated by 10 points at the end of the night. So not a lot of movement to be had with a short field here.
Yeah, definitely that is going to hinder. And it stinks. You don't want to think about it this way. We have about 2.5 minutes. If you're Mikey Neal, you would love to win the championship, but knowing that you're 54 points out, you're pretty much taking second place. It's kind of a good thing for him that there's not a big car count, because if you had, say, 40 cars here, that could make it interesting, and you would maybe have a chance. He doesn't really have a chance, unfortunately. So I think not having a huge car count is kind of like, okay, I can kind of relax. I'm pretty secure. I just need to have a good night. And also the fact that he's got a 100-point lead, so I don't think he's going to lose second. But that's really good for these guys that are up in top 3, like Alex Huffman, because that's going to make it harder for Justin Starr to pass. So the low car count is good for some people, bad for other people. So it really just depends on what you need as to how, if it's good or bad for you. But I'm with you. It's going to make it interesting, going to make it hard to get those points. But that being said, we got 1.5 minutes left, so we are going to step away here for the national anthem. We will be right back here in just a few moments with qualifying after the national anthem.
We take you down onto the track for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, we are back here, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to drop down to the track. It looks like Mikey Neal's going to be out on the track as one of our first drivers, so we're going to get up close and personal with him here as we're going to put in our driver bar that number 8 machine of Mikey Justified Neal. Currently no times in, and again, they have only 5 minutes here, so good thing. Sometimes they have 10 minutes, but they only have 5 here, which is probably a good thing since there is fewer cars.
Yeah, Mikey Neal was fastest guy in practice throughout the season. I think Mikey Neal and probably Bryson Barker, and maybe Bryson Barker should be the one I list first, probably were the 2 best short track racers. You know, this mile long at Phoenix doesn't play like a typical short track. You're not on the brakes nearly as much and hard. But it's still a short track nonetheless, so I would expect Mikey Neal to be good, Bryson Barker to be good, Jameer Muhammad's always good, but James Laurel, Alex Huffman, there's another couple guys that I think might run well tonight.
Yeah, there are good, just an outstanding amount of drivers here. They're so good. You know, it's kind of going to stink that it's coming to an end here, but all great things must come to an end, as we're going to go ahead and put up our qualifying times on the screen for everyone. And right now, Mikey Neal does have the pole, as it looks like James Laurel going to take second, Alex Huffman third, Dan Butler currently in fourth, Justin Starr fifth, but Jameer Muhammad has not put in a time, and I expect to see him put in a very low 26 here.
Yeah, well, Jameer Muhammad hasn't necessarily been great at qualifying on these short tracks, but he always finds his way up front. Particularly in the second half of the season. You know, I kind of expect Mikey Neal to qualify up front. Bryson Barker, too, if he qualifies. I'm not sure if there's a penalty there or not. He hasn't come out on the track yet. But just as I say, Jameer Muhammad hasn't had great qualifying attempts on these short tracks. He lays down the second fastest time on the night.
And to answer that question here for you, the EOLs for tonight's event is going to be the 91 of Jim Locking and the 36 of Salvatore De Janeiro, who is not here. However, Jim Locking, I believe he is here, so Jim Locking in the 91 is our only driver with a EOL penalty here for tonight's race.
So Bryson Barker is just opting not to qualify, going to drive it from the back to the front tonight. Is that what he's thinking? Because I think I don't have a clock here, but I think we're just about out of time. 150 left. I guess he could still run out there.
He definitely could. It would have to be pretty quick here, as he's going to have a slower warm-up lap. But yeah, Bryson Barker, Jim Locking, obviously not going to come out. Brian Jones and William Edwards have not come out onto the track, as Mikey Neal's going to take a few laps here. And we've seen this a lot here in this series now, where these drivers will come down pit road and make a fake pit stop and then go back out on the track to get that extra pit stop practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. I mean, last night, the Monday night debacle, your computer wasn't the only thing that bombed it out, man. I blew a couple pit stops myself, and certainly wished I had put in more pit stop practice, a little bit of practice on what I preach. So hats off to anybody who's going to take any opportunity to get some green flag pit stops, because so often races are lost getting in and out of those pits, way more than you'd ever think. So I'd say it's a good call, and certainly I know I'll be taking the opportunity to get a little extra pit practice in next time too.
Yeah, definitely can never go wrong with that. As he's completed one, he's going to go back down here and do another one. You know, it's kind of just because I live so close to an Air Force base, it's pretty much what pilots do. They're doing stop and goes. You go in, you stop, and you go, and you just repeat the process over and over again because practice does make perfect. He's going to pull in here, and he will pull to a stop, and he's going to take off once again. So 2 stops in a row. So he's definitely doing a very good job here. So we'll see if that translates into the race, as we have 4 seconds left on the clock. So we're about ready to get started, as Mikey Neal will have the pole for tonight's race.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as they're running around and doing that, one of the things you're looking for when you're trying to get those pit stops in is you're trying to find brake markers. So much speed can be made up late braking, getting into the pits. How much speed can you carry? And trying to dial that in and find the last possible spot where you can brake and still get slowed down in time. You know, driver make up 2-3 seconds on that, and that is a lot of time. It can take you 20-30 laps to get that on the track.
It definitely can. And speaking of that, they are gridding, and I don't expect them to grid here too long. With such a smaller field here, I'll just go ahead and run it through the grid here for us. And we usually tread off every 10, and, well, there's 11, so we'll just do it all here. On row 1 here for tonight. Again, 2 very dominant drivers here in this series, in this league in general. Is going to be the 8 of Mikey Neal and the 14 of Jameer Muhammad. I expect to see a good battle between those two, first and second in the points as well. On row 2, it is going to be the 13 of James Zarello and the 83 of Alex Huffman. Row 3 is going to be the 21 of Dan Butler and the 99 of Justin Starr. Row 4 is going to be the 64 of Tony Rice and the 84 of Bryson Barker. Row 5 is going to be the 45 of Brian Jones and the 75 of William Edwards. Row 6, getting the EOL here for tonight, is going to be the 91 of Jim Locking, and that will do it here for the Walls Beard Co. starting grid. And the green flag is in the air. We're racing here for the first time at ISM Raceway, formerly known as Phoenix.
Yeah, Mikey Neal got off to a blistering start there. Had a nice turn 1. Actually put a little bit of gap on getting into turn 1 in addition to his start. Jameer Muhammad in second, James Zarello in third, and Alex Huffman right now in fourth. So, you know, I think 5 guys that we mentioned earlier is probably having good shots at winning this race. We got 4 of them right up front, so could be some good action here. I'm really looking at second through fourth right now. See if we get some movement there.
Yeah, definitely going to be good here. Again, from the last race that they did here, they mentioned it was a bit of a few cautions going on in there. That had the open dog leg. They were going 5 and 6 wide. That dog leg has been taken out. It was a mistake to do it the first time. They didn't mean to do it. So they do not have that extra runoff there. They have to stay above those cones, which can be very tricky because if you do go below those cones, you will get a black flag.
Yeah, and I don't know. I usually run with the open dog leg. I don't know that it saves a lot of time. Maybe early in the run when you got some fresh tires, you can really kind of shave some time off there. But you lose so much speed and braking, getting into the corner. I'm not sure that it's really faster. But as you said, when you get that spread out, it is easy to get somebody 3-4. You got to pay attention because you certainly don't want to come back onto that narrow straight 4 or 5 wide. But in this instance, we've got the cones out there. So ducking down there isn't even an option. The only thing they've got to pay attention to is a little bit of banking transition down there by the cones when they cut that corner. Just got to make sure when they get older tires that they hit that right.
Yeah, you definitely can't hit it. If you hit it wrong, it could spell disaster here. And I'm not sure exactly how close they can get to those cones. If they hit the cones, if they'll get a black flag or not. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know if they go below them, they will. This could be interesting, as I've already seen those cones knocked over just a little bit. But that doesn't necessarily mean that someone hit them. Sometimes the just the wind and the air off these cars can knock those cones over. As you can attest to there, sometimes you get a black flag penalty and the cone doesn't actually even get knocked over.
Yeah, that brings us back to Mike Neal's question there. He's asking about, can you get a penalty for blocking a pit? I'm assuming you mean a pit stall, but pit entrance, I guess, could qualify as well. I think the penalties for pit road are pretty much unsafe pit entry or unsafe exit. So in other words, if you don't cleanly go inside the cone that marks the pit entrance or the pit exit, if you hit the cone or if you go outside of it, you'll definitely get a black flag. Even if you're driven into them, iRacing will call it. And then, speeding penalties, those are holds. They'll hold you in pit road. So if you see somebody that's sitting in the pit road on the pit stall for 30, 40 seconds and not fixing damage, then they probably got a 20-second penalty or something. And then, of course, coming off pit road, too, there's a blue cone that marks the exit. And if you go onto the track too early before you get to that blue cone, even if you go out and come back or put a couple tires out there, they'll also give you a black flag for that. But as far as the actual pit stall themselves, no, I'm not aware of any enforced penalties from iRacing, although a particular league may have a penalty that they do enforce.
Yeah, leagues may do stuff. iRacing is, while they do have a lot of rules, some of the rules that you would think they would have are not there. Some of them, it'd be nice if somebody was blocking pit road. You could give them a penalty for it, but unfortunately it's not. So we just have to kind of, leave that up to league discretion admins, and they do a really good job here in Racecore of controlling that. While you may not get a penalty this race, you will get a penalty the next race. If it's severe enough, you could get put on suspension as well, as we've seen several drivers get suspended here for a race or two as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's leagues aren't going to put up with shenanigans like that, I should say. So, if you're just down there trying to block somebody's pit box or something, even if iRacing doesn't enforce it, I don't know too many league admins that won't show you the door over something like that.
Yeah, they definitely will show you the door. And right now, talk about showing some people stuff. Look at your front four here. We're going to zoom out just a little bit. Your front four have shown the rest of this field that they're not playing around. They're spread out as it is, but they're actually pulling a pretty sizable gap over fifth place Dan Butler. And then he has a sizable gap to the 45 of Brian Jones and Justin Starr right behind him. So our front four have really pulled away from here. And even fourth place of Alex Huffman is slightly losing these front three of James Larillo, Jameer Muhammad, and Mikey Neal.
Yeah, we talked about five guys in the pre-race that we thought were pretty good at the short tracks. And we were wondering why Bryson Barker didn't qualify. Well, it turns out he's not even in the race. So something happened with Bryson, and he's out. But the other four, Jameer Muhammad, Mikey Neal, James Zarillo, and Alex Huffman, these guys are solid short track racers. And James Zarillo really put on a show out there. He's hanging with Jameer Muhammad and Mikey, who tend to be the better long run guys. Alex looks like he's starting to fall off a little bit, but James Larillo's right up there on their bumper, carrying every bit the pace they are, 15 laps into this run now. So fantastic run by James Larillo. And, I'd be curious. I'm going to watch Alex Huffman here a bit, see if he continues to drop back, see if maybe he's in a tire-saving mode, or is he just struggling keeping those tires fresh on this tough Phoenix track.
Yeah, it will be very, we heard from Justin tire wear is not too terribly bad. However, it will play a factor. As we're looking at their times here, we'll start with Mikey Neal, for instance. 26.5 was his best lap here in the race. He's already running 27.1s. 27.0s. So actually, Jameer Muhammad on that last lap was a little bit, not much, less than a tenth faster than Mikey Neal. But that's not the point. The point is they are starting to see a little bit of their time fade on these old tires with 16 laps. And I believe he said around 30 to 40 laps, if I'm not mistaken, for fuel, if that's correct.
Yeah, I believe it was 42 or 44, somewhere in there on fuel. We've got a 100-lap race tonight, so I would personally, if I know I've got to make at least 2 pit stops, right, so it's not 50. 50 would let me do it in 1. So I know I have to make 2 pit stops at 42 laps or whatever. So I'd split that up into even runs and probably think about start pitting around lap 33. But with that much spare fuel, even splitting it up like that, it does open a door for some early pit stops. Somebody could come in around lap 28 or something. And if we're picking up a second a lap at that point, that could gain somebody 5 or 6 laps. So by the same token, if we do get a couple cautions, 42 to 50, it's still a lot of stretch. We'd need quite a few cautions in order to stretch this out into one stop. But, if you're a long shot to win the race, it might be a strategy worth considering. But right now, we've got 3 drivers up here that are just kind of running away with this. Alex Huffman continues to fall back. And I'm not even sure. Maybe I should check. I don't know. Did he get any damage or anything? Did we see him scrape a wall or anything?
I don't see any. I think he's just falling back a little bit here. So we'll zoom in on his car real fast if we can get there. Yeah, I do not see any damage there. He's running very smooth, very clean, just not quite as fast as these front guys begin. It is a fixed setup, so it's not like they can do a whole lot. If anything, they may be able to change their gearing or whatever. I don't even think they can do that. So it's really about how you get around this track. It determines how fast you are.
Well, the reason I ask is because every time I look, he's running the same lap times as the guys in front of him, but he's losing time. So, matter of fact, he had the fastest lap on the track that last time around. 83 of Alex Huffman did. So I was wondering if he maybe got into the wall or something that resulted in some slow laps there in the middle.
It very well could, but I don't see any damage, so we'll have to assume he didn't and wonder if he did. But right now, he is actually maybe catching that group a little bit here, as now your front 2 of Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad are starting to get a little bit of a gap over James Thorello. So they're starting to pull away from him. I'm wondering if it's just a matter of who's being able to handle these little bit older tires, as it looks like those front 2 are maybe able to handle them just a little bit better, as, again, they're starting to pull away from James Thorello in 3rd place now.
Well, these short tracks are so technical, especially something like Phoenix here, where you're, I don't want to get too technical on it, but we talk about the grip circle a little bit with tracks. And basically what that means is those tires have there's a finite amount of grip. There's a certain amount of grip. And when you step on the gas and go forward, you've got to counteract and have enough grip to handle that weight transfer going backwards. If you hit the brakes, you got all that weight shifting forward, so you've got to have enough grip to hold that. And it's the same lateral side to side. You turn left, all the weight wants to go right. And so you can counteract basically so much weight transfer in any, in all directions combined. So they call that a grip circle here. And when you're running into turn 3 without that banking there, you're really balancing how much do I slow down and turn versus how do I step on that gas and turn? How much can I turn? You're trying to maximize that grip circle with the right amount of acceleration, braking, and turning all at the same time without being too much of either one. And it's real hard to run consistent laps doing that every time. And I think that's maybe what we're seeing here a little bit, as it actually looks like James Arillo is getting by Jameer Muhammad now.
Yeah, he did. He got shot out of a cannon all of a sudden on the outside. So he is going to get by Jameer Muhammad. So we'll see. Maybe Jameer's conserving a little bit. We'll definitely be watching. He is definitely good at conserving tires and fuel. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we're still watching those front 3. To answer the question, to Kamikaze, to join this league, you must be a B class or higher in your safety rating. There are different levels of classes and license, and I want to point out here real fast, Tony Rice coming down pit road a little bit early, only 26 laps in, so I did not expect to see anybody come in just yet, but he indeed is coming down pit road, and with a very clean truck. No, correction, he does have a little scrape to the wall, but I don't think I would have come in for that.
Well, we talked about the excess fuel allowing somebody to short pit. I thought 33 would be the window, but he's only 5-6 laps early here, which is exactly what we talked about. This is an opportunity for some pit strategy here, and he's going to have more than enough fuel to make it up on another one. And if a caution comes out and resets the pit stops, then he's a winner. So, good call.
Yeah, we'll be watching him as here we're watching this too. He is now 2 laps down, so he definitely needs to get those laps back. Brian Jones and Dan Butler battling right now for 5th position. Justin Starr right behind them in 7th. As that battle's starting to get a little intense here, at least it was. It's kind of fizzled out at the moment. But looks like Dan Butler's not quite done. I think he may try to make a pass if he can get up there to the back bumper of that 45.
Yeah, Brian Jones been making a steady climb. He was been gaining on Dan Butler for a little bit now, and so Brian Jones moving up. Started 8th. He's at 5th now. Dan Butler and Justin Starr started 5th and 6th respectively, and are 6th and 7th. So there really hasn't been a lot of movement in the middle of the pack, other than Brian Jones, who has his sights set on Alex Huffman now, as he continues to gain and move forward in this race.
Yeah, he definitely is. And with the fewer cars here, I didn't expect to see too much passing, as there's not a whole lot of people to pass. As we're seeing here, Jameer Muhammad on pit road now, and James Zarello coming down as well. Jameer Muhammad just completes his. James Zarello coming down to pit road here on lap 31. So kind of about where we expected some of these guys to come in.
Well, Jameer Muhammad short pit there. He was looking for a way to gain some track position, so he wanted to pit 1 lap earlier there. He stacked up behind Mikey and James Zarello, so strictly that was just to try to gain track position there. And what he's done is forced the hand of pretty much everybody else. James Zarello came in right behind him. Mikey Neal, I'm a little surprised Mikey seems to be staying out for now.
He is coming in now, right as you say that. He comes down pit road.
Yeah, I was a little surprised he stayed out as long as he did. I thought he would pit immediately the next lap after Jameer Muhammad pit, because we're talking almost a second fall off here. So with Jameer Muhammad, he was half a second behind Mikey Neal going into pits. Gains a second a lap on these fresher tires out there 2 laps earlier. That's a second and a half. So, anything that less or more than that's going to be how much was made up getting into the pits and getting off the pits, green flag pit stop. So probably where that pays off for Mikey. But Jameer Muhammad should cycle out to the lead here.
I'm thinking that you are right on that. As we'll see, there's Brian Jones coming down, Dan Butler coming down as well. So it looks like everyone will come down and complete stops here. And we'll see right now, Justin Starr has not pitted, and he is actually being scored as your race leader, and he has led 1 lap. So good to get that bonus point for lap led. However, a little late in the season, he has led laps before, but hey, every bonus point can count when you are in a battle like he is for position.
Well, not only that, but he's got most of the field trapped a lap down right now. Jameer Muhammad back on the lead lap, but if a caution were to come out right now, he'd have the field, a good chunk of the field trapped a lap down right now. So with him right now, it's just pure strategy, probably more so for trying to get these guys pinned a lap down than it is for getting that bonus point. As the season winds down, I guess, given his battle with Huffman, maybe there is a little bit of a bonus point battle there.
Yeah, I definitely think he is considering that when he is looking at things. Right now, him and William Edwards, both of them have not come down right now, as they're on lap 36 of 100. So we are closing in here very quickly to the halfway point of this race. As so far it has gone caution free. We'll go ahead and pull that up here for you. It is 0 cautions, obviously, for 0 caution laps, 64 to go. But again, before you know it, we will be at the halfway point here on lap 50.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the timing screens there, and when we do cycle back, we should have Jameer Muhammad to the lead with about a second and a half over James Larillo, and then another second and a half, 2 seconds to Mikey. So it looks like Mikey might have lost about 3 seconds on that cycle pit stops just by staying out there that extra couple laps that we were talking about there. So that would be the short pit that Jameer Muhammad did. Now, Mikey may pick up a little bit of that at the end of this run. He might get a little bit of that back, and he's in a little better position to do something like that of his own here in one of these next 2 pit stops. But right now, Jameer Muhammad looking like the big winner on this first round of pit stops.
Yeah, definitely. I think he could be the big winner in the end. This is going to be tricky. So many drivers could win this race, as it looks like Justin Starr is going to come down at pit road here on lap 39. However, William Edwards not going to come down. He will lead his first lap, and right as I say that, he's going to come down pit road. And as you said earlier, that will cycle things around, and that will give the lead back to Jamir Muhammad here in just about half a lap. As we'll pull it up right now, there you see the 75 of William Edwards as your leader. But that will not be for much longer, as it should switch over here in just a second.
Yeah, Jamir Muhammad just now officially scored the leader there right now. With James Zarello and Mikey Neal, second and a half, back, from each spot respectively there. So Mikey Neal about 3 seconds back, James Zarello probably about a second and a half back.
And James Zarello having a connection issue here, as he blinked out for probably about a good half a lap there. He is back. Mikey Neal had a little blink there himself. So let's hope connection issues do not plague this race.
Yeah, you got to hope. iRacing servers, I've certainly been involved in races where the servers struggle, and all of a sudden guys start lagging out left and right. It just makes for a mess of a race.
It definitely makes for a mess of a race here. As we're going to see, let's go ahead and run through your fields real quick. Right now, Jamir Muhammad is your race leaders. We'll pull up his information. Started second, he's up to first. He has led 2 laps so far. Second place belongs to the 13 of James Zarello. He started third, up to second. He hadn't led any laps yet here in tonight's race. Right there is the guy who's led the most laps. That is the 8 of Mikey Neal. Started first. He's currently in third. He's led 32 laps here tonight. Alex Huffman sitting in 4th place right now in that 83 machine. He again started 4th. He's in 4th. Hasn't really gained or lost since the start of this race. Brian Jones sitting in 5th place right now. Probably one of our bigger gainers from 9th to 5th, but still hasn't led any laps. But on the move here, as that is your top 5 here after 44 laps completed as they cross the line.
Yeah, we've gotten the field pretty spread out right now. Probably the closest thing to a battle that we have right now is actually the 9th place truck of William Edwards there. Not too far behind Justice Starr, but we know Justice Starr just got fresh tires, so I think there's a good chance Justice Starr is going to go ahead and stretch that out a bit. Actually, William Edwards got new tires with him, so those were our 2 leaders, and they're probably the closest battle right now. Less than a half a second apart.
Yeah, and we are going to be 5 laps away from the halfway point here as they cross the line. And while those guys just got fresh tires here, there's your Justin Starr and the 75 of William Edwards, and there's your leader. So it looks like Jamir Muhammad may run them down here shortly. They do have a little bit fresher tires, so I would expect them to pull away, but right now it's not looking like it. But I think they maybe just need to get some heat back in those tires, and they should pull away from him once again.
Yeah, William Edwards making the move, getting by Justice Starr back there to take over 8th place right now. Meanwhile, James Zarello actually been turning a couple pretty good laps. Mikey Neal too, starting to close up that gap a little bit. Mikey Neal down from 3.1 seconds back to 2.8, and James Zarello from 1.9 seconds to 1.6 back. So both those guys have closed up 3/10 on Jamir Muhammad. I have to wonder if Jamir's not saving tires just a little bit here. But these guys are coming, but they've got their work cut out for them. Certainly, I think everybody out there except for Jamir would love to see a yellow flag wave and tighten this field up again.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they would love to see a caution and tighten this field up. Honestly, it would, I think, make some great racing. And I think 14 so laps in here, if we had one come out here in the next 10 laps, I think everyone would come down. They may come down anyway, just to get the tires. Even if it came out halfway point, we wouldn't be able to make it at that point from or as far as fuel goes. So that wouldn't be a factor here. As Jameer Muhammad is coming to the line here to start lap 50, sorry. We are at the halfway point when he crosses the line. That being said here, we are going caution free, so we're going to go non-stop here real fast for a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. If we see a caution, we will come back immediately. We'll be right back as we go non-stop here at the halfway point. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, there for a quick commercial break there so we can get hydrated and whatnot. And not much has changed since we left. Jameer Muhammad is still out front. As we'll go back here to third place, Mikey Neal, who I think is starting to run down James Zarello.
Mikey Neal has gained about a half a second since we went to commercial break on the leader there. But something else that's changed here is we're about 1 to 3 laps away from being within a pit window. Now, we think that these guys are probably 10 laps away from pitting to break this up. But right now, if we go about 3 more laps out there, these guys could make it on 1 more stop, which means the window opens up in short pit. And, if you're James Zarello or Mikey Neal right now, and you saw what happened when Jameer Muhammad was able to short pit you a couple laps, what's going on right now is these guys are thinking about it. They're wondering, when do I pit? Can I short pit? And then you got Jameer Muhammad out front saying, I can't let these guys short pit me. When do I have to come in? So a little bit of strategy going on, a lot of thinking going on. Guys are trying to outthink each other out there. And Mikey Neal is definitely closing that gap to James Zarello.
Yeah, he is definitely closing in. I mean, the more he closes that in, the more he's closing on that leader, too, of the 14 of Jameer Muhammad. So if he runs down James Zarello, as long as they're both not losing time to the leader, if you're catching second, you're probably catching the leader, too. Again, assuming you're both not losing time, period, to the race leader. So
yeah, Jameer Muhammad has slowed down a lot. And I really got to think he just lost a half second to those guys in those laps. I don't think he's burned up his tires yet. I think he's in conservation mode right now, which really has me wondering about this strategy. If he's saving those tires, he must not be planning on short pitting. So I think we've just hit that window where these guys could technically pit right now and finish this race. So who's going to short pit?
Yeah, definitely right. 60 laps going to be completed this next time by as they're fixing to start lap 60. So we know they can make 40 laps. So we are in that fuel window that they could make it. The question is who's going to be the first one to come down and who is going to be one of the later ones to come down as they're having to get by the lap car here. I believe that is the 64 Tony Rice. It is. So they are going to put Tony Rice now 2 laps down. Other than Bryson Barker, who did not start, Tony Rice is the only car not on the lead lap right now. Justin Starr is possibly in jeopardy of going a lap down, as Jameer Muhammad is not far behind him. So he is definitely, he's probably, there's probably, I'd say 80% chance that he's going to catch him before this race is over.
Well, I hate to assign probabilities like that, but right now, Justin Starr and Jameer Muhammad running actually the same lap times. Justin Starr running 27.4s, Jameer Muhammad running 27.4s. So nobody gaining on anybody right there. But we know that Justin Starr's on much fresher tires. But what I'm really looking at here is James Earl and Mikey Neal have pretty much erased that deficit from 1.5 and 3 seconds back, respectively, to a half a second and a second back. And they've done it, here in a couple laps. You throw that in with the fact that it's time to pit. And I'm going to look for one of those two guys to just peel into the pits here with the last second pit stop any second. I think they're both close enough right now that either one of them, if they can pit a lap before Jameer Muhammad, could cycle to the lead. So that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on every time they come around the pit road now.
Yeah, and I am agree with you. One thing I'm curious here, I don't think we're going to see it. I really, really highly doubt it, is will we see a 2-tire stop? As there comes the 14 in, and the 8's going to come with him of Mikey Neal, as he is going to be right on his bumper. So this will be really good when he comes out. You think anyone's going to take 2 tires here? I don't think so.
No. They're taking forward. Jameer Muhammad there, purely defense there. He was thinking the same thing we were. He was so worried about getting short pit. He came in early. Mikey came in right behind him, but Jameer Muhammad was too slow in the pit road. Mikey Neal closed up that gap, that full second, and was right on his bumper by the time they entered pit road. So not a great entry. We'll have to see how they get through the pits and on exit here, but Mikey Neal with a fantastic pit stop, at least the first half of it. And James Arillo stuck running extra laps, so he's not going to be happy with that.
Oof. And Mikey Neal will beat him off pit road. Now, Jameer Muhammad getting side by side there coming out of pit road. That was a little scary there. I didn't know pit road there by that blue cone was quite wide enough for 2 trucks.
I'll tell you what, that one right there is all on Mikey in those laps that we watched him right before that race started, practice those pit stops. He knew exactly when to brake, knew how hard to brake, and he got on pit road and off pit road a full second or more faster than Jameer Muhammad, and was able to cycle back out to the lead. So that's why Mike Neal always preaches those pit stops being practiced there, and he's right to do so.
Yeah, you're talking about 42.4 to 43.4, so exactly, like you said, exactly 1 second faster on pit road, which equaled, or well, we can't talk today, equals a 14.7 second actual pit stop to a 15.9. So definitely getting on pit road made a difference. So good job to Mikey to practice that as he's about to put try to put lap down. Justin Starr currently 1 lap down, but he's going to try to get by him and needs to get by him pretty quick so that he has a chance to kind of pull away before Jameer Muhammad can get up there and try to make a pass off of this, but he's going to get by him here on the inside.
Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of hard to really get a good run off that inside when you've got to hold it down there. I think Justin Starr is going to keep it down the straightaway here. Mikey Neal needed to probably run up there against Justin Starr's door handles there if he was going to clear him. I think he's trying to be nice here and just kept it way too tight to that yellow line. Did not get a good run off, and so he's probably going to try it here again in 3. And he's just going to have to run a lot tighter to Justin Starr if he's going to pull this off, I think.
Yeah, he is just right there side by side with him, but still can't pull it off. And you're talking about both fresh tires, as the 99 of Justin Starr was on pit road just about the same time as these guys were, even though he's a lap down. As he does clear him there, and it looks like he is going to battle as hard as he can to try to stay with these guys. He knows that they will be the leaders here shortly, so that will put him in a good spot to get his lap back if the caution was to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Mikey Neal was able to get a little bit of position there, but I think Justin kind of gave that up getting into turn 2 there on that second lap, and then pulling right down in front of Jameer Muhammad here right now. But Justin Starr hanging tight. Mikey's not getting away, and Jameer's not looking like he's going to run over. Justin Starr, though, with a big run getting into the entrance of that corner there, really hurt him getting off that time. So maybe overdriving it there a little bit trying to get in there, but man, he closed that gap right up into the next set of corners. So Justin Starr on his much older tires keeping pace.
Yeah, and really the 14 of Jameer Muhammad, he really has nothing to really gain from winning this race other than just the fact that he can call himself the race winner. As we've already established earlier in the night in the point standings, he basically has the points wrapped up. He can't lose them. Especially going into next week, he will officially be crowned champion, I'm sure, unless something seriously drastic happens. He's basically the champion, so this is really out here just trying to get the win. So there's nothing on the line for him.
Well, there's a lot of pride, and nobody steps out here wanting a points race. Sometimes you got to make yourself points race. Everybody wants to win the race, so plenty on the line. Competitiveness gets the best of all of us, especially if we're out here competing. And I promise you, Jameer Muhammad, at least in this moment right now, wants to win this race as much as anything. So, and it's the same with Mikey Neal. You could make the argument that he's probably not going to win the league championship. So what's it matter? Well. It's all about winning for these guys. So both these guys are going to give it everything they've got out here. And lap traffic certainly going to play into this here as they're starting to get into more and more traffic now.
Yeah, they are definitely getting into more traffic here. And I want to point out here that throughout all of this, they are not the leader right now. William Edwards is your current leader at the moment. He has now led 8 laps here with 25 laps to go right there at the line. 25 laps to go, so this race is just about over, but the 75 of William Edwards will not be able to make it on fuel. He will have to come down as he has not made his second pit stop, so he is dragging this thing out to the very last minute, maybe waiting on a caution or whatever it may be. But if that's the case, I have a feeling he's probably out of luck because we've gone 75 laps caution free so far. I don't see one coming out now.
Well, he's probably got 6 laps of fuel left. He's absolutely waiting for a caution. But I don't know how much it would help him right now, given the fact that he doesn't have the fuel to lap down anymore. I suppose we got enough laps on these tires that most of these guys would pit with him, and maybe he'd cycle back out front. But without a caution, he doesn't really stand a chance right now. But, strategy calls, win or lose. And, he's run these tires out as far as he could, hoping for a caution to come out. And he's still got a couple laps left for which that happened. And I'd just like to correct an earlier statement, too. I thought these guys were on a lot newer tires than Justin Starr when they were back there racing with him. But I looked at the thing. Justin Starr actually pitted at the same time Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad did. So that battle was on equal tires.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think he came out just ahead of Mikey Neal. However, he was a lap down, so it wasn't any major deal going on. But Dan Butler and Justin Starr battling here for 8th position. That is a battle for position right now. So we're watching this battle, even though they're 1 lap down. So they're battling to see who can gain that position. Jim Locking a little bit ahead of them. He's actually the first car lap down. So right now we have only 6 drivers that are actually on the lead lap. Now can't corrected. We have 5 drivers as Brian Jones, the last one on the lead lap.
Yeah, Justin Starr doing a great job through turn 3 defending these guys. He's really got that truck hooked up in that middle line, and kind of a middle 2/3 up. And he's really able to hold these guys off and get a run up there while these guys try to hug that corner. So he's a real difficult person to pass, and that tends to give it up a little bit, maybe going down the straight and coming off a 1. But, you know, Dan Butler out there on much fresher tires than Justin Starr. But just like we saw Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad, he's having a heck of a time getting by him.
Yeah, definitely having a difficult time here. We'll see. We're going to go check up here with Mikey Neal real quick, and we'll come back to that one. Mikey Neal, 0.716, and now 7.66 seconds over the 14 of Jameer Muhammad. I want to keep an eye on that here to see if that's growing or shrinking, as it looks like that gap is getting bigger and bigger at the moment with 19 laps to go. I think this possibly race may belong to the 8 of Mikey Neal, as it seems like whoever gets fresh tires and gets out front has a really good advantage.
Well, we got 18 laps to go, and it's far too early to call this with a gap of less than a second right now, because either one of these guys could easily be saving those tires and have a 10th lap here for the rest of the race on the other guy, you know, which would be the equivalent of about 1.8 seconds. So obviously right now Mikey Neal is in a comfortable spot, and you know, if he is able to save tires right now, then you're absolutely right. We just don't know how hard he's pushing it right now.
Yeah, you definitely don't know how hard he's pushing it. 0.8, now 0.6. It looks like the Jameer Muhammad in that 14 machine just gained 0.2, but he's going to lose 0.1. So back and forth here for the 14. He very well could be conserving those tires just a little bit and saving. Maybe waiting for the, like you said, last 10 laps to try to make a run here. Mikey Neal. We'll see. James Zarello sitting in 3rd place. So right now, that was our top 3 a little while ago, and now they are back there once again. So, you know, Mikey Neal, Jameer Muhammad, James Zarello, those 3, they have spent the majority of this race in the position they're in, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and they don't think they've ever been separated by more than 3 seconds from first to end. James Zarello actually making a nice solid run here, kind of reeling in Jameer Muhammad right now. So James Zarello, maybe we talked about him pre-race. We said he was going to be up here in this mix, but maybe he's the surprise of the race, as well as he's been able to stick with Mikey Neal and Jameer Muhammad tonight. I'd say for me, he's been kind of the biggest surprise, and I expected him to run well, but he's running terrific here tonight.
He is running very terrific, and he is running down the 14 right now. Let's go a little further back here. Jim Locking is your first car lap down at the moment. Go back here to Dan Butler, who pulled away from Justin Starr quite quickly and has put a huge gap over him. Tony Rice out on the track right now. He is 2 laps down, so not much Tony Rice can do right now, as he can't gain any positions. He is the only car now 3 laps down, as Mikey Neal passes him once again. So Mikey Neal is starting to pass drivers once again to put him a lap down.
Yeah, that Justin Starr battle there with Dan Butler. When William Edwards pit, he came out right behind those guys on those fresh tires. It actually split him there and almost clipped Justin Starr. Might have even bumped him a little bit. It was hard to tell from where I was watching. But certainly it threw Justin off a little bit, and that's what allowed Dan to get by so easily. Now that Dan got by with those fresher tires, I would expect him to be a little bit faster. And so he got away. But fresh tires there on Williams' car certainly had a factor in that.
Yeah, definitely think so too. As we're going to check here. Not much going on here for Mikey Neal, 1.052 seconds. But with 10 laps to go at the line when they come around, I think for the most part we probably stick up here as James Zarello. I don't know if he's had a 2nd place in this series. I'm thinking he has. Oh, as Jameer Muhammad gets in the wall. Well, I was about to say he would maybe take 2nd. He definitely did now. And, you know, I hate to say this, but I think that just at least 80%, maybe 90% sealed the fate here for Jameer. I don't think he's going to be able to get up to Mikey Neal now. Not that his truck's torn up, but with 9 to go at the line right here, I just don't think that's enough time to make that gap up.
Well, Mikey hits his marks with 10 laps to go. With the laps he's running, I agree with you. He's going to be able to hold these guys off. But and the reason I chuckled a little bit is because I think we had the exact same call at the same time there, by the way. Just as easily as Jameer got into the wall, James Zarrell, Mikey Neal, they're on old tires. This is a tough track. Both of those guys could easily do the same. So easy to get into the wall here. For me, particularly coming off of turn 1, it's super easy to just kind of get to the throttle too soon and push out to the wall, or have to bail out of the throttle and lose a half second because you thought you were going to hit the wall. So I agree. If he hits his marks, runs just nice, clean, consistent laps, he's probably got this. But I'm not willing to concede it yet.
Well, I think I'm going to. I think he's got this one wrapped up. Again, barring any, self-inflicting instance there, I think Mikey Neal has this one pretty much wrapped up.
Well, you can't say he's got it wrapped up. Then throw the disclaimers out there, Charles. Come on, get out there with it. Get on that ledge.
And we're going to switch back to our camera there. James Zarrell having more connection issues here. And, hey, everybody's got disclaimers, so we got to throw it out there with a disclaimer on there. And it looks like we got Crazy Cheeseburger in chat with us now, so welcome to chat. I definitely think he's got it. James Zarrell has fallen back here to 1.47 seconds, now 1.5, 3.4 for Jameer Muhammad, so he has definitely fallen off more and more. And he's got somebody just in front of him here. It looks like, I'm not sure who that is that got by him. It wasn't for position, though, and that's going to be the 75 of William Edwards. So William Edwards does get by him, but that is not for position. He's back in 6th place at the moment. Here with 5 to go, going to be 4 at the line. If a caution was to come out now, the race would be over.
Yeah, I just want to get back to a chat question here real quick before this race winds down. There was a question about licensing in iRacing and how it works. And essentially, they've got each car is assigned a different license level from rookie all the way up to A, rookie, D, C, B, A. And you have to run a minimum amount of races at each level in those cars on the public servers and have a minimum number of incidents, running into the walls, running into people, running off track, to get your safety rating to a point to where you can advance a level. And yes, if you get into a bunch of wrecks and your safety rating suffers, you will lose a license level.
Yeah, and that is never fun, as we've seen it happen before to a lot of good drivers. You go in there, and sometimes it's not of your own doing. You just get involved in a lot of stuff, and in the end, it just hurts you quite a bit. So you have to be very careful out there when you're racing, as we're coming on the 1 to go this time by, as Mikey Neal is just about 1 lap away from putting this thing in victory lane, and it will come up right there at the line. It's officially 1 lap to go here, presented by Northwest Racing Series. We'll see, can he hang on to it here for 3 more corners?
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that Mikey's got this one now, Charles, as he brings it home here, 1 more set of corners, and Mikey Neal will take it to victory lane.
Yeah, he's definitely going to take it, and right there he will do so, as Mikey Neal is going to be your official race winner here tonight from ISM Raceway, formerly Phoenix. And what a race it was. Caution-free, it's nothing new. We didn't expect anything less, as those top 3 will get ready for the post-race show. It's going to be Mikey Neal, James Zarrell, and Jameer Muhammad in that order, as I'll go ahead and run through our unofficial race results here, as we only have 10 drivers starting the race. Getting the win here tonight, of course, is going to be the 8 of Mikey Neal. Second place is going to be the 13 of James Zarrell. Third place will be the 14 of Jameer Muhammad. Fourth place will be the 83 of Alex Huffman. Fifth place will be the 45 of Brian Jones. Sixth place will be the 75 of William Edwards. Seventh place will be the 91 of Jim Walking. Eighth place will be the 21 of Dan Butler. Ninth place will be the 99 of Justin Starr. 10th place will be the 64 of Tony Rice. And, of course, rounding out the field here, did not start for some reason. That will be the 84 of Bryson Barker. That will do it here for your unofficial race results. Give us just a minute. We will be right back here with your post-race show. In just a few minutes, we'll talk to those top 3 drivers. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here with the post-race show from ISM Raceway. And we have our top 3 drivers in here, and it looks like Jeff has caught up with Jameer, so we'll let him introduce that particular drivers. That is his little show here. So, Jeff, we will hand it over to you.
Hey, Jameer Muhammad. Welcome back to our post-race show, the Jeff and Jameer Show. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish, man.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Phoenix tonight, a little bit of short track racing. We know that in the past you've kind of been a little weaker at the short tracks than the intermediates, but here lately you've been running real strong, and even watching those nationals, I think we're going to have to take away the struggles at short tracks monikers, but tonight you got out front, you battled with actually you and Mikey and James Zarillo really just battled each other all night long. You guys got broken away from the pack there. I think you pulled a little bit of a strategy move there early with the short pit, and then you kind of came back at short pit again on that second stop, so it looked like you were trying to anticipate when those guys might pit. So I think you had some great calls with the pit strategy tonight. Probably the winner in that aspect, but Mikey Neal with a fantastic pit stop, actually able to get out ahead of you. And then you had a late, a little bit of a wall scrape there that I think allowed James Zarrell to get around you, and then slowed you down, got you off pace there a little bit after that. So that's kind of how I saw your race tonight. Why don't you walk us through it from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, you got it pretty much covered there. I try to. The top 3, me, James, and Mikey, were very even at speed. Mikey seemed to be a little faster, and there's no secret, apparently, that I'm not very good at short tracks or flat tracks. I do learn a lot from Mikey and James when I run around them, especially at Martinsville and New Hampshire. But yeah, I tried to short pit at the start because we're pretty even on speed and it was impossible to pass. And it worked. I got out to a pretty comfortable lead, and that's where it kind of all went downhill from there. I just kept overdriving the car. I think having Mikey in front of me at the start was helping me not overdrive the entry. And when he wasn't there in front of me, I just completely blew it every single time. So yeah, I just it's just one of my. These are one of the tracks I'm just not really good at, and you're penalized a lot when you overdrive the corner here, and I did that a lot tonight.
Well, I disagree. I think you're pretty good at these short tracks now. I would have agreed there was a time where you struggled a little bit, but the last few we've seen, you managed to run up front. And I think you, James, and Mikey had just ran a heck of a race there. I couldn't figure out there at the end if you just burned up your front tire there a little bit and were pushing, or if you were saving and then scraped the wall a little bit. But if you'd have kept that truck clean, did you have anything left to make a run at Mikey?
Oh, no, that was kind of pretty much my last-ditch effort right there. I was trying to get as much as I can there, and Mikey was just – I was trying to keep up with him, couldn't even cut the lead down, and I was just trying too hard there, and that's what hit me down into the wall.
Well, congratulations once again. There aren't too many drivers out here who can come into a post-race interview talking about their third-place finish and claiming that the struggle is real at short tracks there. So I think that's a testament to how well you've run in this league and how good of a driver you are, where a third-place finish almost sounds disappointing for you. But I know you got some shout-outs. I know Dad watches this. I know the wife watches this. So we'll go ahead and pass it back to you here before we send it back down to Charles. And you can get those in.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Shout out to you guys at VRN for doing this great job. It was a shorter field, but you guys still sounded like you guys did a good job. Shout out to Leo's Coney's Island, Global Building Contractors, Lake Erie Entertainment, Iris Travis World. Take it away.
All right, Jameer. Once again, congratulations. Thanks for the interview. And as always, our post-race show, and we'll send it back down to Charles here, who's got our second-place finisher, James Morello.
I do, indeed. And I just want to say, Jameer, you clearly did not watch that. He's not here. He'll hear this in a little bit. He could not have watched it if he said we did a good job. So I think we did okay. But nevertheless, we do have a second place here with us. That is the 13 of James Lorello. You led 3 laps. You come up just a hair short of getting the win here. First off, and most importantly, congrats on second place here, as we only have one more race next week, and this series is done. But the question here of the hour, same question we just asked Jameer, did you have anything for Mikey here tonight?
Yeah, he was a little quicker on the short runs, but I feel like on a long run we were just so even. I mean, it was so hard for either 3 of us to catch each other, or we'd gain a 10th and then we lose it, and it was just a really great race, really great battle. I wish I would have pitted a little bit earlier there and pitted with them. I lost some time to Mikey, about a second and a half, and I didn't end up gaining anything after that pit stop.
Well, definitely it was a really good race here for you. You could never be too sad about a second place finish. But talk a little bit about this season as a whole. Is coming to an end here next Tuesday night. It seems like we just got started and it's already ending. So what are your thoughts overall for your success here for this season? And of course, are you looking forward to the next season coming up?
Yeah, I sure am. This was my first season with Racecore and with Justin and the guys, so it was really, really enjoyable, and I hope I get a top 5. I was trying to get a top 3 in the point standings, but not sure I'll get there. But, Jameer and Mikey are just class of the field, and it'll be hard to catch them. Hopefully next season I'll be able to gain some ground on them.
Well, definitely it'd be one to watch you do so. Just an outstanding driver, outstanding season here for you. Finishing in second here tonight. You got any sponsors or shout-outs you want to give for that second place finish?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks to you guys for always putting on the broadcast. Always enjoy it. And thanks to iRacing Drivers World, Leo Coney Island sponsoring the series, Global Building Contractors, and Lake Erie Entertainment. It's a really awesome show that we get to put on thanks to those guys at Racecore.
All right. Again, congrats, and we're going to hand it over to Jeff here one more time, as he has our race winner, the 8 of Mikey Neal.
Hey, Mikey Neal, congratulations on the win, man. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, we've said it all along, I think, since we first started covering you. You've always been good at short tracks, I think, since I started following this league. you've gotten so much better on the bigger tracks and managing your tires there tonight. But I even saw some tire management come into play tonight. You started off on the pole. You lost the lead due to a little bit of pit strategy. Actually fell back about 3 seconds and was able to run them back down without a caution. Pulled off just an absolutely fantastic pit stop, which we saw you practicing after qualifying there, by the way. Was able to barely nip Jameer Mohammed coming out of pit road, and then after that happened, you didn't look back. So tell us about your race tonight. Kind of walk us through it there, if you would.
Yeah, I knew I had a fast hot lap here, so I knew I had a really good chance of getting the pole, and I got it. I was really excited with track position. Then the first run, I mean, this is a really good momentum track. You need to get your momentum, and I had no momentum in turn one. I couldn't get down to the bottom like I wanted to, and I was just overusing my tires from it. Right front definitely overheated. So I was a little worried there. And then I actually never even saw Jameer pit. I saw James pit. And so when I saw James pit, I knew I had a pit because, I mean, when I didn't see Jameer behind him, I knew Jameer had pitted the previous laps, which, I mean, you can make it around 40 laps around there. So I knew I might have lost a couple seconds to him, and I think I only lost about 3, which wasn't too bad. But I was able to get back up to him at the end of the run. So I knew next time I had a pit before everybody else did. So I was getting ready to go into the pit, and obviously I hear Jameer say pitting in, and he ruined my strategy. But, I really thought Jameer was going to be super, super hard to pass. And, I mean, I had a really good pit stop. I was able to get right up to his bumper. But, I mean, he did not give up after pit road, man. He fought for it for a while. And for a guy, and I mean, people say he doesn't run short tracks. This dude runs short tracks smarter than anybody else. And, he's a really, really tough competitor. And, I kind of edged out there. I went really, really aggressive into pit road and especially into my pit box. And like I said, I barely got out before him in pit road. And from then on, second and third run, I was able to get my momentum back, and I was able to run that bottom. And that's why I feel like I was a little bit faster. And I knew I had to save my right front just because James had about a lap pressure tires than me. And, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but that's about a 10th each lap. And, he could have caught me there, but I saved my tires really, really well. And, I was able just to pull away from him.
Yeah, absolutely there. And I think that was kind of the theme that we saw there about the last 10 laps, that right up about lap 20. You absolutely just didn't have the fall off that these other guys had. And I think Jameer alluded to it, and I've heard you say it before. But easy in those corners, equals hard off and saves a lot of tires. And it looked like you were really focused on taking care of those tires and getting the corners easy. I don't think I saw you really overdrive many. As a matter of fact, I think the only thing I saw you blow, I saw you catch a little bit of apron there and 3 a couple times, or one of those, and maybe get a little bit loose there. But it looked like protecting those tires and being easy in those corners was a concern tonight. And it sure paid off those last laps. What can you tell us about that?
Really, I mean, tires weren't too bad, to be honest. I mean, throughout the run, they actually had a pretty good amount of grip, to be honest. And it just matters how you get off these corners. And backing up the corners is a big thing here at Phoenix. And I was trying to do it at the beginning, and I just couldn't get it. But after that, I mean, I was fine. And that one where you said I did get loose, I know it's just sometimes you try to go a little bit too fast and you get on the apron a little bit. Jameer did a really good job not hitting me, but Jameer and I, we always race really hard. And then James Arello, I mean, he's a really, really strong short track racer. He's really strong at mile and a half, and he's really strong at plate tracks, and he's really strong everywhere else. So, I know James. I knew him from when he came in here, and he's gotten stronger over time. Him and Jameer both, and they're 2 of the strongest competitors here in this series. And it's really, really tough, but during these races, you kind of have to forget about it, and you have to go out there and do your best. And I had to save my tires. I knew that, but I also had to be fast at the same time. So I tried my hardest tonight, and I had to stay out in front of them, and that was my goal. And like when they short pitted me on the first stop, I mean, I actually thought my chances were over. But even when Jameer pit on the second one, but I had a really, really good pit entry, and it was a really fun race. And during the last couple of laps, I just running my line, getting over with it, and tires, fuel held on, and I was able to come home with a victory.
Yeah, you absolutely killed it on that pit stop. I think you gained about a second and a half on pit entry, almost a second just on pit road, and then I think you had close to another half second in the pit box. So I think all 3 phases of that pit stop, you killed it. Again, we sat here and we watched you practice it. We know you've been practicing. We talked to you a couple races ago, and I think we attributed a win to a pit stop that you made at the end of the race. So I'm going to say that 2 pit stops, 2 green flag pit stops here in the last handful of races probably contributed to wins for you. So congratulations. A lot of guys don't like to work on pit stops, myself included. So great job there. I got one question here real quick before we let you get to your shout outs. And maybe it's more of a statement. You got a pretty big race coming up, I think, here in a couple days. You're one of the top 20 drivers, I believe, in the iRacing Ignite series. And don't you guys have that season finale coming up? So I know you got a lot of fans in chat. Just want to get out there and give you a chance to tell us about that. I think that's a pretty big race for you.
Yeah, tomorrow night I'll be racing the Ignite series, and it's going to be in Martinsville, racing Legends cars. It's going to be really, really fun. I'm really excited. Winner gets a $10,000 scholarship, get a bunch of other things. I know Martinsville themselves included stuff. So, also another person in this league, Spencer Tart. I know he didn't get here. He didn't get to race tonight, but I know he also is in it. So, hopefully we can at least finish well tomorrow. And, it's going to be really tough. Some of the best drivers on iRacing are in it, and it's really, really tough. But like I said, hopefully this win tonight helps me a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I believe NASCAR is a part of that league. It's for drivers age 16 and younger, which you qualify for. And you're absolutely right. It's some of the best drivers in iRacing, and you're part of that. So we'll certainly be rooting for you. I think that's a pretty big deal, and I know I'll be tuned in to watch that. So with that said, I know you got some shout outs and some sponsors to get to there. So have at it, Mikey.
Well, yeah, I got to thank KAM and PRG. Also got to thank Jack, Alex, Roger, and Austin. I got to thank you guys for broadcasting. I love having you guys every week. And, you guys do a great job. And hopefully next week we'll have a good season finale. And we'll continue on with the Xfinity Series. Also got to thank Global Building Contractors, Lake Erie Entertainment, and then the main sponsors, Leo's Coney Island. And I got to thank Mom and Dad. I know they're both watching, so thanks for watching. And I got to thank Dan, Justin, hosting the league. And, and let's have a good final week at Homestead next week. And I also got to thank all the viewers. We have a great time racing, and I know Demir, James, and I had a great time battling for that lead tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic race. Joy as always to watch you guys. And we're going to go ahead and send it back to Charles here to wrap this thing up.
All right, well, that will just about do it here for the race. Of course, we want to thank all of our sponsors on board, and, of course, the sponsors on board here for the race. Starting on the racing side of things, big shout out to Global Building Contractors, iRacing Drivers World, and, of course, the presenting sponsor here for this race and series is Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills. And on the broadcast side of things, big shout out to all of our partners that have come on board here for 2018. Those do include Walls Beard Co., Beard Bomb, Sim Speed Shop, Northwest Racing Series, Ohio IndyCar League, iBog, and of course Randy's Wraps. And speaking of wrapping, that will wrap it up here for tonight. So we will see you tomorrow night as we go back to back with Upper Edge, and then we go to in the round of 7, and then we'll head over to the Northwest Truck Series. So stay tuned for that. And Thursday night we'll have some dirt track racing for the Sim Dirt Modified Touring Series. And then we are off Friday and Saturday. We'll come back Sunday with some more Racecore iRacing Drivers World Series. So that is what's coming up this week. Stay tuned for all those great events. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you at the next broadcast.